Hi everyone, so today's the day. I will talk about my top reads of 2017. I'm filming this on Christmas Eve morning as things get prepared for Christmas in our house, and I thought I would take some time for myself and film this video about my favorite books of this year. I thought about dressing up and putting on makeup, but then went with the cozy way and put on my onesie, which is actually quite festive. And mom gave me this, she calls it Frida Kahlo style necklace, which is also pretty festive. So I think the cozy way is also festive. So, but that's not what the video is about, right? It's about my top reads of 2017, and those books are in no particular order except the last 3 books, but we will get there when we get there, right? So the first one is this book, this little cute book with lots of magic in it, but give me a second. And it's by my dear friend Sophie. She also has a channel, I will link it down below. It's called Sophie Carlon. Definitely check her out, she's glorious. She wrote this book and I've read it in the beginning of this year, and I would sort of describe it as a magical realism crossover with dystopia. Sophie, correct me if that's not what you meant to write, but it's really about this man who is basically on fire, which why it's called Burn, and it's his story and his way of dealing with this, like, it's not really a gift, right? It's more a curse, and how people react to him. And it's set in this kind of dystopian world, but it's really applicable to our world and how we deal with people who we see as outsiders. And it's not just the story that really intrigues me, but also Sophie's writing. I think she's really such a gorgeous writer who can like put the magic into her stories with her words, and she's really talented. And you should all definitely check this book out and her scenes and anything else she has and puts out there. It's really gorgeous. And next I would like to talk about 3 books I've read in German, and or 2 books and 1 author. I've read in German, for most of them for my finals, which is surprising because, I mean, yeah, books you read for your finals don't usually have the bad reputation, but I'm a literature student, so I love everything I read for uni, or I've read for high school, if that's what you call it. I don't really get the difference between the systems, and yeah, but that's not the topic of the video. The first one is sadly not translated, as I saw. I looked it up, and it's Juli Zeh's Spieltrieb, and this is a book about Ada and what's his name? Her classmate. Wait, I have to look it up. It says nothing about the book that I don't remember the name. It's been a while, and I just remember her because she's really important. She's the main character basically. Aleph, right? I knew it was something about with Aleph and Ada, and it's basically about them trying to trick their teacher into like this scandal, and they want to make him sleep with Ada because they want to like analyze this thing they call Spieltrieb, which is like the rules of a game they sort of set up. And it's like the most accessible and also entertaining in a good way, not just like, oh, it's entertaining and nothing else is behind, exploration of nihilism I've ever come across, and it's so great. And I really hope it will get translated into English soon, because I think a lot of you who watch this channel would really enjoy this, and it's just like the exploration what two young people are capable of when they think the world around them is crumbling and they don't really have something to hold on to. So there's that. And the next one is an author. And it's Theodor Fontane. I have this gorgeous used copy of Effi Briest here. I've read this one for class prior to the finals and read Cecil for my finals, and I didn't really settle for a book by him yet because I didn't really find that I can do that now. I want to first read more of his works to settle for a favorite, but Theodor Fontane's writing definitely has been a favorite this year, so I had to put him on to this list. I think what really makes his writing so special to me is that he writes like he has been in contemporary, he is a contemporary writer, even though that's a classic. He wrote in I'm not sure. Yeah. This edition is like the first edition of 1896. So he wrote back then, and it reads like authors write in the modern day, and I think it's fascinating. And the topics all pretty much of all of his books talk about like the society and women who are trapped into the boundaries of society, and it's really interesting to see his view of how people will break under these ways of society, how they treat those people living there. I think you should definitely check out Theodor Fontane. I think Effi Briest is translated. I will look it up and link something down below if I remember. And the next one is quite an obvious choice. It's Goethe's Faust, part 1. I've talked about this on my channel quite a bit now, and it's just really, it's a favorite of mine. And as I mentioned, I will study Faust again in my next semester at uni, and will combine this with how Faust got represented in literature and in like adaptations in literature, but also art. And I think it's really interesting to compare these two. I will go to see an exhibition on Faust and art, and I'm really excited. And and I discovered my new favorite villain, which is Mephistopheles. He's my favorite character in this book, and he has the best lines. And there is actually a English translation, obviously, because it's a massive classic, and I will link that down below again if I remember. And if any of you want to do a body read maybe next year, I would be definitely up for that. I asked some people already, but again, it's open for everyone who's watching, and if you would like to do that, we can organize something. So there's Faust. Continuing with another book I talked about quite often on this channel already is Anais Nin's Death of Venus, and this has just been, I think, the most influential book of this year. It really helped me as a writer and helped me grow as a writer, and I picked my favorite short story out of this collection because it's my favorite short story, and just her writing and also the story behind this book is really interesting. I don't want to give too much away for those who want to read this book. I would definitely recommend picking up this Penguin Morgan Classics edition with the stories, and it's really worth it. And I think everyone who writes and or wants to write really has to pick up this book, even though it's erotica, but if you can get over that, or if it's not bothering you because it shouldn't be bothering you. I mean, okay, no, I will not get into that rant. That's a rant for another day. But I mean, there's more behind those stories than that. So if you are hesitant about picking it up because of that, just do it. There are some stories which are not that strong, but overall it's a great collection and really worth it to pick up for a writer. So there's that. Now on to some poetry. First I want to talk about an author which I would call her my favorite, or yeah, her they go with they pronouns. They prefer their pronouns rather than she or he. So keep that in mind. I think they are my favorite like contemporary poet, and it's Andrea Gibson. I have here The Madness Vase and also Pansy. I have read Pole Dancing to Gospel Hymns in last year, I guess, or the year before, and really fell in love with Andrea Gibson's work. And now I've read Pansy and The Madness Vase. I would say Pansy is definitely my favorite of her, and The Madness Vase is my least favorite, but it still has 5 stars. Of obviously, it's in my favorites list, and she just writes really, really strong emotional poetry. And if you are interested in also more political poetry, I think she's a good place to start. She talks about like the war, sexuality, LGBTQ plus topics, but also love in general, life, those kinds of things. And she's really, really worth checking out, and I really love her work and can't wait to read more by her. I think I've read all of her collection she put out there for now. And the next poetry collection is definitely a huge prize. I really wouldn't have thought when I picked it up that I would like it that much and I would put it on my favorites lists. And it's We Carry the Sky by McKayla Robbin. And this is a collection of poetry some of you might call like Tumblr or Insta poetry, but I don't really think it's living up to that standard. It's still short poetry, really accessible, but it's so incredibly powerful, and she has such a good way with words. And oftentimes I feel like the more modern poets really just go like the easy route and just like put sentences into like different lines, and that's it. You know who I'm talking about. But okay, that's also not the topic of this video. We Carry the Sky. It's really, really great. And yeah, I put a lot of like, wait, where did I put like I made annotations like that a lot. This one says, if I cannot feel safe in my own skin, there is no corner of this earth warm enough. And it's just, I mean, maybe it's just me and it's because it's personal, but I think sometimes you have to have this kind of poetry to just like, yeah, really get emotional. But also this one, I will read another one. America, when will you stop unmothering your people? And it has the undertitle Motherland. And I think it's really, really good. And if you want to like give modern poets a go and you aren't really, like you don't really want to give it to the obvious and most famous ones, definitely check out We Carry the Sky. I think that's a book a lot of people who might just like older poets, which I'm definitely a person who likes more older or not like the modern poets. I struggle a lot with them, but this collection is definitely worth checking out if you are not familiar with like the new modern wave of poetry. Definitely check that out. Now the next one is The Humans. I have the German copy here, Ich und die Menschen by Haig. This was also pretty much a surprise. I picked it up because I thought it's something lighthearted, something that will give me a message, because I've read Reasons to Stay Alive by Haig and really loved it. And he has a great way of writing and of transporting a message, so I thought, yeah, I will pick it up. But it's so much more. It's so moving, and it's just really. I'm not crying. I just have something in my eye. But it really makes you want to cry, and it's a story about this like alien form of being who comes to this earth and like goes into the body of Andrew Martin, who is a professor for math and at Cambridge University, and he discovered this really like important formula for like everything would be changed, and the alien species don't really want that to happen, so he was sent to Earth to like take over his body and change that and prevent the humans from discovering this formula through Andrew Martin. And it really is an exploration of what it means to be human. Like, we see this story told through this alien perspective who takes over Andrew Martin, and by that we like take a step back and learn with him what it means to be human. And I think if you want to get into philosophy but are maybe hesitant to pick up like some of the major works of like established philosophers, I do really believe that the humans could like help you get excited about questions that we talk about in philosophy. So it's really a recommendation for everyone. It has something in it for everyone. It's thrilling. It's sometimes it reads like a thriller. It has romance in it, but not overwhelming romance. It's a really great story. And again, I think it's a great way for you if you want to get into philosophy but don't really know where to start, to get you excited and maybe find out what topic you're interested in most. So there's definitely a recommendation. And now a really important book to me. It's also, I don't think it has been translated. I looked it up and I don't think it has, but again, let's hope it will. It's Connie Palmen, Du sagst es, and as you may could tell by the cover, it's about Ted Hughes and Sylvia Plath, but maybe mainly focuses on Ted Hughes, and it's told from his perspective. So it's basically Connie Palmen giving Ted Hughes the voice he didn't really get or had, and no one really listened to him back then, and it's giving him this voice. And I think it lost some of its glory when I've read like the poetry collection it's based on, but it's still a favorite of mine, because the way she tied everything together and wrote things herself with Ted Hughes' voice, it's just really gorgeous, and it introduced me to Ted Hughes, the human, not just the poet, and I think I'm very grateful for that. So it's a great book. Then this is a very long video, but we expected that, right? I'm sorry, but I think you don't really mind long videos, I guess. The next one is another German one, I'm sorry. There will be just one, I guess, which hasn't been translated. It's Politik und Liebe machen, von Laura de Weck, which translates to Politics and Lovemaking. And those are little sort of mini plays who talk about politics and politics in combination of our private lives, and it is especially focusing on political topics concerning Switzerland. So I think it makes sense it hasn't been translated, because it wouldn't have the same impact for other people to read about as it has for like Swiss people. But I think it's such a good combination of really being extremely funny but also brutally honest, and I think we as Swiss people need such a book to shake us up and to like confront us with the issues we have to deal here in our country, because believe it or not, Switzerland does actually have quite some issues to deal with, and I think this book really does a great job in about talking about those topics, and yeah, I really loved it this year. Then we have Gefühlte Nähe by Harald Martenstein. And this is a book I really hope will also get translated, because first of all, I love the concept, and you will understand if I explain what it is about. And I think it's such a unique way of exploring a person's story. And if you hear peeping noises, those are my birds. I'm sorry, but they want to talk as well. They get all excited during Christmas Eve because we bring up the tree, and then they have to move place. So if you hear something, it was them, so no worries. This is basically the story about a woman told through 23 stories from 23 perspectives. And those 23 perspectives are all told from the point of view of all the men she met during her lifetime. And I read some critiques that said, oh wow, it like defines a woman through her love life, and I'm so pissed, because let's not get into like that now. But like have you read that book, or did you read another book? And I think it's so well executed, and I actually really got interested in that way of storytelling. And I think it's really fascinating to see, like, I'm a woman, and to see how the man in her life saw her, and how she turned into that destructive character sometimes, and the loving character, and just see her through the eyes of men who have loved her. And there are extremely unlikable characters, but they are written in a way that they are unlikable, and you even sometimes can tell that the author finds them unlikable through the way he writes about them. And there's different formatting, are letters in it, sort of interviews, and it's really interesting, and gets meta at times, and sometimes ask yourself, is there a part of the author inside of it? And I think it's really gorgeous, and I do believe it gets better the more you read it, because there's also like linking to political activism, or like political engagement during this time, and there's always those links. She calls them all the same, like nicknames, and she always records tapes or CDs for them, and there's those links between, and characters reappear in stories, and it's just really fascinating. The next one is call it my guilty pleasure. I'm fine with that, but I love it. I'm currently, as I'm filming this video, still reading it, but I know it's going to be a favorite, and it's just amazing. And again, call it my guilty pleasure, I don't care. It's Aurabel by Laura Dockrill. And it says, a mermaid with a sting in her tail. And I have to read you the back, because then you will get why I love it. Left for dead, sharpening her fangs, rebuilding a mechanical tail, training her beasts, mastering her strength, setting her sights on the throne, setting her sights on revenge. 2 years after Lorelei surfaced in Hastings, so it's the sequel to Lorelei, which has appeared as well on my favorites list last year, so there's that. The world has become a hotbed of underwater politics. The tension below threatens to break up Lorelei's quiet life on land as a normal teenage girl. And dangers lurk even closer for the everyday mer, and Aurabel, which is the main character, a plucky mer from the wrong side of the trench, better watch out. With selkies, amusement parks, fang thief and fake legs, this is a curious, hilarious righteous adventure not to be missed. So, in this book there is queer mermaids, underwater politics, and like heartbreaking stories. And it's gorgeous. It has a perspective told from the sea, and it's amazing. But definitely read Lorelei first, because it wouldn't make sense if you read Aurabel first. They have to go along. Now, last but not least, before we get to the top three, I want to talk about an author we all know here in Booktube, and it's our much beloved Jen Campbell. I talked about her in my TBR for 2018, and I've read 2 of her books, and both made my favorites list, obviously, because they were that good. The first I've read is Franklin's Flying Bookshop. Oh gosh, sorry Jen. By Jen Campbell, and the illustrations are by Katie Harnett, and the illustrations are gorgeous. And yes, a children's book made my favorites list, and I will talk about the importance of children's books for adult readers as well soon, hopefully, maybe. I plan to do a series on that, but we will see. I tried to go and pick my favorite illustration. It's that one with, okay. I hope you can see it. It's the one with when they fly through the town, and Franklin flies really fast and they have to hold on to each other. So this is a story about Franklin the dragon, who really likes to read and wants to build a bookshop, but no one really wants to talk to him because he's a dragon and everyone is scared of him, except Luna. And he befriends Luna, and they set up this bookshop on the back of Franklin, and go to the town and try to like invite the people who are still really scared of him. And I think it's such a great message, and that you shouldn't be afraid of someone just because they're a stranger or they're different from you. And I think it is a really important message for children, but also for us adults. It should be a reminder that we should not treat like a stranger just as a stranger, because there's a saying, I think, a stranger is just a new friend you haven't met yet. And I think it's really, really true, and it's a great story, and I loved it very much. And then the obvious one, I think we all read it by now. It's the beginning of the world in the middle of the night. You are rocking it with the titles, Jen. This is just a beautiful copy, and it's been signed by Jen as well, because I ordered it from her website, because you have to support the authors. And it's just, there's so much of Jen in this collection, and there's so much magic and so much humanity in this story and stories. And I think it's again a book everyone needs to read, because I think everyone gets something out of it, and maybe gets something different out of it. And I think it's just worth your investment in time, like everything Jen really puts out there. And I cannot wait to read more by her. I think she's working on a sequel for Franklin, which I'm really excited. And I think what Jen's really capable of is taking you back. Like, you have to sit down, get into her stories, and you are in a different world. And I think we should all appreciate that when an author does that. So yeah, those are my 2 favorite books by her I've read this year. And now on to the top 3. I'm really excited to talk about them. The first is my favorite novel actually of this year, and it's Paulo Coelho's The Witch of Portobello. Now, this tells the story of Athena, and it starts with her discovering like she might not be who she thinks she is, and questioning her religion and stepping away from Christianity like she grew up, and discovering abilities you might call like a modern witch. It says what makes a witch today. It's the German copy, and it's an exploration of a woman in our time and how we treat people who may have a different approach to life. And it also talks about Roma people, and it's just fascinating. It sent me on a road of trying to find as many books about Romani people I can find, and I really want to get into their history, and it's a fascinating book. And Paulo Coelho is one of my favorite authors. When I like a author, I buy everything he puts out there, and this is no exception. It's gorgeous. It's my favorite novel of this year. And what now comes is no surprise to any of you. It's Ted Hughes. So I've started with Crow. I picked that up because of Jen, actually, and yeah, I've read that for my poetry club, and I just fell in love. It's just gorgeous. It tells like this poetry. It says like the undertitle is From the Life and the Songs of the Crow, and it tells the story of this magical mythological creature Crow, and like his world building and his like origin myths somehow, and he's like godlike figure, and it combines really the ugly and the beautiful, and I think that is really something Ted Hughes is extremely capable of combining the ugly with the beautiful. And yeah, so there's Crow, definitely a favorite. It made me fall in love with Ted Hughes, and I will be grateful for that forever. Then the other one that goes along somehow. Where did I put it? I wanted to. Oh, there it is. To go along with that is another favorite. It's Grief is the Thing with Feathers, which, yes, it's inspired by the Emily Dickinson poem. Hope is the thing with feathers, but again, that's just another great thing. I'm getting like it's just another great thing about this book. It's basically the story about from this like Ted Hughes scholar and his family. They recently lost their mother and wife, and it tells the story. Funny story. I have to tell that my mom. Oh gosh, I've been searching for a bookmark for ages, and look what I found now. It's the bookmark. I found it. Yes. Okay. Okay. Anyway, and it tells their story, and someday Crow like sits on their doorsteps and tries to help them get through their grief and their grieving process. And it has so many like hints towards the collection Crow, and it's just amazing and heartbreaking and beautiful. And I've seen it's going to be turned into a play very soon, which I'm really excited. Excited. Now I can just think about the bookmark, but let's move on. The favorite thing is birthday letters by obviously Ted Hughes. Who is surprised, really? I plan to read his other collection I have on my TBR right like at the start, so I have a good start for the year. But birthday letters is basically his letters to Sylvia Plath, and it's what Du sagst is based on, and it ruined me. I will never in my life read anything the same way after reading birthday letters. It's amazing. I know it's not for everyone, but I think I grew so fond of Ted Hughes that it was perfect for me, and it's definitely 100% my favorite read of this year, and I recommend picking this up if you want to like have Sylvia Plath's voice balanced out. Not that I don't think her voice is not valid to hear, I think it's really, really important, but we often see this relationship really one-sided and don't really get Ted Hughes' perspective, and I think Birthday Letters is really his perspective on their relationship, and yeah, it's just gorgeous and it ruined me, and I'm grateful for that actually. And that was with Swiss German, yo. See, now I'm drifting off and thinking about Ted Hughes, but okay, oh well, a good time to end the video. Those were my top reads of 2017. Let me know if you did a video as well or a blog post, and I will see you soon. Bye!